do something with it.
Yes, Lord.
You know, people, there's something about God's house. There's something going on in God's house. I want you to notice something here. The word of the Lord, the first verse, the word of the Lord which came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Arise and go down to the potter's house, and there I will cause thee to hear my words. You know, thank God today for calls. Come on. I said, thank God today for calls. You say, what are you talking about? You see, the Wednesday night we were studying here, and we got off on the 5th chapter of the book of 1 Corinthians, and Brother also loves Corinthians too. And we got over the 5th chapter of the book of 1 Corinthians, and we got to studying a little bit there about turning such a one over for the destruction of the flesh, that the soul might be won therein. Did you know today that we've got what we call fleshly sins, and we've got soulish sins? Oh, so help me. You see, what we'll do is we'll suffer in the flesh for the things that we and the deeds that we have done in the flesh. There's fleshly things that we do. Come on, church. I was down in Kentucky preaching a revival, homecoming revival, and them people down there fed me banana pudding. I think there was 23 banana puddings, and all these cakes, all these cookies, all this chicken and dumplings, everything else. I just kept eating. I went back to the room where they had me in a motel room, and I got over there, my stomach was hurting. Oh, I was hurting bad. And my wife looked at me, I said, pray for me. She said, I ain't praying for you. She said, you done it yourself. You see, there's some things we suffer in the flesh because we've done it to ourselves. Come on, church. And then there's things that we've done that we've condemned the soul. But thank God for the things that causes us to go to the house of God. Things that causes us to see what's on us, what's coming about. Thanks be to God that when we get there, whatever it was that brought us, we can see the work of God. Amen. Person has a heart attack. Guess what? They get to the house of God, somebody lays hands on them. You know what they used to do? Used to take them in the back room and clean them up really good. Come on. Take them back there and give them questions. Do you believe this? Do you believe that? Do you believe this? Do that? Do this? Do that? Do all this? But you see, they realize you get them in the altar and let God do the cleaning up. Yes. Come on. Is there going to be some, oh yes, there's going to be some cleaning up because the worker, he's going to take that pot and he's going to put it on the wheel. Oh, somebody help me preach. And if he puts it on the wheel, he's going to take the other wheel and he's going to take his foot. He's going to move it around. It's not going to look like what God's doing right then. What God's doing a work. He's doing somebody's life. He's changing their ways. He's changing their lifestyle. If we'll let God be God, you will see a new me. Amen. We talk about it. You see, and the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, Arise and go to the potter's house, and there I will cause thee to hear my words. Some people come to God because they got a headache. I'm glad you get a headache. Come on now. Some people go to God because their finances just went out the door. I'm glad somebody opened the window. Come on now. Somebody comes to church because their plant's closing up in a month or two and they're going to lose their job. Or listen to the church. I'm glad that it took all of that to get you to come to church. There's a cause, but whatever your cause is, I'm glad you're here today. Whatever your cause is, whatever you're here for, it's to see the God's work. God can do a work in you. Just stand in the light. There's a whole bunch of clay pots over there, and God's working on somebody. Amen. She works on you. Might be. Might be God. Somebody asked me the other day, why is all these problems happening? I said, problems? And they said, yeah, these problems. I said, hold on a minute. Are you talking about problems? And they said, yeah. I took my handkerchief out and I said, tell me about them. He said, did you hear about Irene? I said, our Irene's been in the hospital. I said, she's doing much better. They went in there and found out that there's no blood clot. Everything's fine.
Praise the Lord.
He said, okay. They went into the colon and they had a blockage there and they knew it was there and they got inside the colon. It's not there. They said, that's not the Irene I'm talking about. I said, oh, what Irene are you talking about? They said, we're talking about an Irene storm. I said, an Irene storm? And they said, yeah. And I said, well, what about the Irene storm? They said, well, it's sort of like the one that hit down there in Louisiana. I said, Louisiana got one of them too? They said, yeah. And I said, well, what are you talking about? They said, Katrina. I said, Katrina? Yeah. And I said, well, what about that one? They said, well, you know, they just got Bourbon Street back up and running, and there's another storm coming in called Lee. I said, open up the door. Said, did you hear all the weather changes and all the things that's happening? The earthquakes up in Alaska, and the earthquakes in Colorado, and the earthquakes in Virginia. Said, haven't you heard about all of them? I said, yes, I've heard. They said, well, what do you think about them? I said, God's calling somebody to come to my church. Are you coming in? No, then you see, the world doesn't understand this, but there's a call to get you to come down to the potter's house because God's working. I said God's working. He's taking clay. That doesn't mean nothing to nobody. He's putting it on his wheel, but God's going to make him work in it. He's going to bring it out. Oh, God, please work on me.
Thank you, Jesus.
What are you talking, Pastor? I will cause thee to go to the potter's house.
Right. Amen.
There's a call to get you here. Did you know that? You know, some people just build men. Some people build themselves. Some people build their own character. Some people just build their own life ways. But I like it much better when God does it. Come on now. I said I like it when God does it. You see, because when God does something other, and there might be a spot, there might be a wrinkle, and there might be something that just isn't working out. Oh, but God's not going to give up on me. I said God's not going to give up on me. He's not going to throw the clay away. No. He's going to put it back on the wheel. He's going to work the work. Oh, let God work in me. You're talking. You see, what did Jeremiah do? He first went to the house, and God caused him to hear the word of the Lord. What was his cause? Well, he walked into this room, and here sat the potter. He's got two wheels. Not the wheel, but two wheels. He's got a little one on the ground, and he's turning this wheel. And that wheel is going in, and it's turning the big wheel on the side.